You are headed to Asia, and you will be meeting with your Chinese counterpart in Singapore. You said that we face the possibility of a cyber attack. This is one of the things you talked about last time with me, about how this was a very big, serious issue of concern for you. And you said it could be the equivalent of Pearl Harbor. The Pentagon's acknowledged recently China is the biggest source of cyber attacks against this country, including stealing our military secrets. Newt Gingrich spoke about this threat on the campaign trail often. He said cyber attacks, cyber spying are, quote, acts of war. Do you agree? Are they acts of war? And how would the United States respond?
Well, there's no question that if a cyber attack, crippled our power grid in this country, took down our financial systems, took down our government systems, that would constitute an act of war. But what we're involved with here is the effort to make sure that never happens. And in order to do that, we've got to engage. I think it's important for us to engage China in this effort. That's one of the issues I raised when the Minister of Defense came here from China. How can we better engage on this issue to share information and to ensure that those kinds of attacks never happen? Because this is an area where the technology is developing quickly and where clearly it is becoming an adjunct in terms of any country that moves against another country militarily. This is something we've got to pay attention to. And it's not only with China. We've got to engage Russia, we've got to engage other countries in an effort to try to develop some kind of standards here that will assure us that, just as we did in the nuclear area, we can take steps to prevent a mistake that could be very damaging to our security.
China has been very aggressive in the South China Sea in the last few years. There have been some near skirmishes. How concerned are you, considering especially that we have treaties with the Philippines and Japan, that China's aggression could end up creating a situation where there might actually be a military involvement that we have to get involved in? How much does that concern you?
Well, we want to make sure that we take all of the steps necessary to avoid those kinds of potential conflicts. And in order to do that, it's very important for us to develop a mill-to-mill relationship with China so that we can discuss these issues. I mean, when it comes to the South China Sea, the fact is that we have to protect our naval sea lanes. We've got to protect our maritime rights. We've got to recognize that there are international rules here that apply, that this is not an area that is controlled by any one country, that in order to conduct trade, in order to provide for peaceful exchanges, we have to be able to protect those rights. To do that, we've got to engage these countries. And so one of the reasons I'm going to China is to follow up on the President's efforts to try to establish a line of communications with them that deals with these kinds of issues. Because the last thing you want to avoid is a mistake by one country or another that decides that their only option is to use military force. If that happens, then I think we have a great concern about our ability to then maintain peace in that part of the world.